no abhayangaro kannaha karo prajabhyo bhayannaha pasubhyaha gananantvagan Om sahasra sirikha purukha sahasraksha Om jetirthani pracharanti sikhahasani khanginaha Nikhanginaha tekha gung sahasra yojane vadhan bani tanmas Om
ये ऐसा समय, ऐसे क्षण जहां शब्द
So his body will now be put up on the funeral pyre, which will then be lit by his family members. I think by his perhaps by his granddaughter or his daughter. And how very interesting, isn't it? You know, for a party and for an ideology which is often criticized as being anti-woman and whatnot, even in death. You know, Atalji sending a very, very strong message. I mean, truth be told, there are a lot of people one knows, and it's difficult. It's difficult if you don't have a son for these kind of rituals to be performed unless you are completely divorced from the kind of very patriarchy-driven social realities which exist. And it appears that you know, even in death, the family of the former Prime Minister wants to send a very strong message. And again, you know, I look at Advani ji, I look at Atal ji. Advani ji has a son, has a daughter, but clearly closer to his daughter, who was always by his side. Atal ji, his daughter, his son-in-law, his granddaughter. I mean, he was very, very fond of Gunnu. He's very fond of his daughter, and what she has also done over the last 15 years is quite remarkable in this day and age. Her life almost came to a standstill. You know, she was not the kind of person who would head out in the evenings. It was almost as if that she has to be home because she used to look after Babji, as Atalji would be known, would be called. And now the Babji for the Atal Bihari Vajpayee family today is being laid to rest. That's Namita there, his daughter. And big political message there, big political message there, big message. Advaita, your thoughts on what we're seeing in front of us?
You know, like you said, you know, the daughter and the granddaughter, really, the two people who were possibly closest to him in these last, the decade or so of his life, bidding him farewell with all the rites and the rituals. And I find it incredibly moving, apart from just the message it sends about certain customs in our traditions.
I think, Shekhar, this is an extremely poignant moment. You know, what we're seeing in front of us, what we're seeing unfold in front of us today, I think is an extremely important moment. And again, these, you know, it's images like these at times like these which will really go a long way in India understanding and deciphering the legacy of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, maybe 50 years hence, may not be now, maybe 50 years hence, as to what is it that goes into the making of a great leader. What is it that goes into making of a remarkable leader, someone who really leaves his imprint behind on the subconscious of an entire nation. I think Atal Bihari Vajpayee today is, even in death, has sent so many messages, to this great nation of ours, that it'll be a great disservice to his legacy if the mantle which he's created, if the template which he's created, if the sort of the political lexicon which is created. If that was to be ignored, I think it will be a great disservice. Women empowerment, grace, reconciliation, that politics is not just about having a sledgehammer kind of an approach, that politics can also be practiced gently. I was listening to his comments yesterday in an interview which he did with Avleen Singh way back in 1998, where he said that he loved pain in poetry, that he loved dard in songs. And yet Atal Bihari Vajpayee, at least from what I got to know of him, was anything but a cynical individual. He was one of the most optimistic, perhaps pragmatic, happy-go-lucky kind of an individual. For that happy-go-lucky kind of an individual, look at the kind of messages that he's sending today. Is it because of the way he led his life? He led his life. In Hindi, there is a word called swachandata, with gay abandon, with complete freedom. So the more I look at what is unfolding in front of us, the more I realize that the reason why Mr. Vajpayee could do what he managed to do is maybe because he was simply put a supremely confident person who didn't care two hoots about the criticism. Yes, he would want to engage with his critics, but I don't think he was the kind of person who would substantially make any dramatic changes in his DNA because of who was saying what about him.
Bhupen, you said it is because the way he led his life. Of course, the way he led his life, but it is also because the way he looked at life. He saw himself as a piece of life. And perhaps he was always reminded of this particular moment in everyone's life, that paths of glory lead but to the grave. Therefore, even as you're alive and you're full of life, live it in such a way that you appreciate every moment of it. Politics is one hat as a political leader one may wear. But at the end of the day, you are another human being. And that is something Vajpayee ji never forgot. And positions may come and go. And we may have several identities. But ultimately, the identity of being a piece of life or a human being lay large in Vajpayee's mind. And that's the biggest message that Vajpayee has left for all of us. Why not? I mean, not just for the political class, but for all of us.
For India as a country. For
the entire country. And if he was large-hearted, it was because of this region. If he was compassionate, it was because of this reason. And if he was kind, it was because of this reason. And if he was accommodative, it was because of this reason. Because our tenure on this earth is largely decided by the identities we wear.
Correct.
But ultimately, the challenges that we face while we are alive requires that we all work together. And as Vajpayee ji, would not put it in so many words, but if I were to sum it up in a line, on any problem, any crisis, he did not think of out of the box. He put it in such a way that there is no box. And that is the way to approach and look for a solution.
Advaita, I mean, while we're just waiting for Vajpayee ji's daughter and granddaughter to light the funeral pyre, and again, for any child, it can be an extremely moving sentiment, an extremely moving emotion. But isn't it, through all what we have seen over the last 24 hours, the number of people who have come out to express their gratitude in a sense to Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the number of people who have come out and shared their own stories. Sudhindra Kulkarni was with me a short while back, and he was saying that today so many people around him are talking to him and telling him that, oh haan, Atal ji hamare ghar aate rahe the, isliye mujhe wahan jana hai. Is it just that I'm being overtly romantic because of a past which doesn't exist now? And we all love our past. And we all would like to compare the past with the present. We know that this kind of love and this kind of extreme adulation that we're witnessing today, well, I'm not sure whether I can think of any leader who would have made this kind of deep impact on the subconscious level of a nation. Is that what sets Atal Bihari Vajpayee apart, that he's a part of the past? And we know that he's a part of the past. Therefore, we want to eulogize him to this degree that we seem to be doing today.
I think part of that is our own need, but also importantly, I think...
We also want comfort.
We also want comfort.
We are not getting any comfort from the present, so we're looking for comfort in the past.
To a certain extent. And I think also, that interview that you keep mentioning, which was, I think, a remarkable and an insightful interview, in that he said, the person that he admired the most was his father. And it was very touching the way he described him. He says, he wasn't in politics, so he never got to be famous, but he was a good man. And he said his sort of definition of success, his own personal definition of success, was that he should be remembered as a good man, as someone who did good for the country and the world. And I think, you know, in the last 36 hours or so, the 24 hours really, since he passed on, what we've heard are really things that across the political spectrum, across the country, across identity, there has been this outpouring of love. When he was gravely ill, there were prayers carried out in every sort of religious institution you could imagine, you know, from a temple to a dargah, everywhere there were prayers carried out. With his passing, there were political opponents who came forward and spoke so highly of him. And he's received many epithets. You know, people have called him a gentle giant, some have called him the Bharat Ratna, but I think the most overwhelming one, at least that I've noticed, has been that of him being a good man. And going by his own comments, I think it's something that he would appreciate above all else.
Let's talk a bit about Narendra Modi and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. You know, it said, and Shekhar, and you can correct me, that when this decision was taken of making Narendra Modi the Chief Minister of Gujarat in place of Keshubhai Patel, it was a big gamble which was being played, both by Atal Bihari Vajpayee and LK Advani, maybe because Narendra Modi then was someone who was seen to be more connected. He was this youthful person, this energetic chap who could have turned things around for the Bharatiya Janata Party in Gujarat. What was the nature of the equation between Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Prime Minister Modi then?
Well, you see, when the decision was taken to send Modi ji to Gujarat, at that time the Chief Minister was Keshubhai Patel, and Keshubhai Patel was very close to Vajpayee ji. Initially, the first one will have to look at the reason they had to replace Keshubhai was Gujarat was recovering from an earthquake, and it was felt that you know, things had to be speeded up, things had to be done better, and perhaps a more younger leadership would be able to, you know, do better. And that is how, on the recommendations of Advani ji and other senior leaders, Modi ji was chosen to be made the Chief Minister, and Vajpayee ji concurred. But the episode of 2002 riots, which raised a lot of questions about Modi's handling of the situation, and during those periods it was felt that Vajpayee ji perhaps wanted Modi ji to accept responsibility and step down.
But still Vajpayee went along with the majority sentiment which existed within the party. And again, therein lies the greatness of the man, that irrespective of what he may have felt or may not have felt, ultimately he went by what was the majority view within the party. Now, if ever there was a definition of who is a truly democratic leader, I think there is evidence of that. And I think the reason why you have the likes of a Nitish Kumar, who used to be an ally of Atal Bihari Vajpayee and then opted out of the NDA, then joined hands with the Congress, joined hands with Lalu Prasad Yadav later, but today still reminisces about Atal Bihari Vajpayee as some kind of a father figure is exactly because of his great belief that maybe Atal Bihari Vajpayee was one of the last true democratic leaders that we've seen around. I was just wondering, you know, you look at a Mamata Banerjee, I must say this for all our viewers, that one of the first leaders who called me to inquire about the health of Atal Bihari Vajpayee on the 15th of August was Mamata Banerjee. And I checked with her team as to what is it that was troubling her so much. And I was told that Mamata Banerjee has an extremely high regard for Atal Bihari Vajpayee. This when she was a single member MP. When the NDA was in power, she was, under Atal Bihari Vajpayee, she was the lone MP of her party. And Trinamool Congress was not what it is today. And Trinamool Congress was an ally of the NDA at that point of time. So, for such a huge cross-section of the political ecosystem to be impacted, to have been touched by the life and times of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, I think it says a lot. I think it tells you a lot about just how the man practiced his politics, the kind of virtues which he enjoyed while he was alive. Another interesting story which was narrated to me about the late Prime Minister was that when he was in Lucknow, he was once just about to sit down for a meal with Lalji Tandon, his long-term friend and an MLA from Lucknow. And just when he was about to sit for that meal, a big party crisis happened, for which he and Lalji Tandon had to immediately rush towards the Lucknow airport, and this meeting was taking place in Lucknow. And they ended up spending the better part of that day trying to resolve that crisis. But the first thing that Atalji mentioned to Lalji Tandon after that crisis got over, which got over in the next 5 to 6 hours, was this, that yaar wo jo khana tumne banwaya tha ghar pe, wo khana to thanda ho gaya hoga, to ab khana batao kahan khayenge. Now for the Prime Minister to react to situations like these in this affable, amicable manner, I think it says a lot. It says a lot about his persona. It says a lot about his personality. And while we're at it, Shekhar, isn't this also one of the reasons why, I describe him as a Democrat. You say that ultimately he went along with the majority view of the party. Was this also one of the reasons why he could manage to keep his 2 feet in 2 different boats? He could say one thing in the morning, say something completely different in the evening, and then again keep everyone guessing by the next morning, but did not end up offending anybody. Was it his grace? Was it his speaking style? Or was it his great conviction that all he's trying to do is simply trying to make a point? He's not trying to hurt anybody. That he's not here to score. In politics these days is also about the cut and thrust of who gets how many votes, who scored how many political points, have I scored over my opponent or not. What was Atalji about all this ultimately?
No, Atalji never, you see, as his name sounded, Atalji means
Atal, forever Atal.
Determined. But he also, the way he looked at things, that he could not be the last word. Yes, he was the last word, but he did not wish to be the last word, because the last word be taken after every word has been said. That was his fundamental philosophy to handling crisis and handling situations. Therefore, he was very keen to hear anyone. And he was willing to correct himself and correct his own perception, or understand the perception of others. That is actually today considered a true, even a leadership in corporate circles, that your ability to take a view and if necessary change that view the situation demands. So therefore, Vajpayee ji was not a person who had already pre-decided something and wanted to impose it. Yes,